Now, I met your parents about 15 or 20 years ago to talk about Siltech and crystal then. So let's start by talking about what have changed these 20 years, both in the company and the products.
Okay, since those 20 years, I think what has mainly changed is that the company has been growing in terms of size or volume, but also in terms of the products that we make, because our intention is always to keep innovating, we want to know what's behind why our product sounds good, why products don't sound good, and we really want to understand them. And because we understand them, we are always able to sort of improve further on the products. And I think that's what Siltech and Crystal are also famous for. Like if we launch a new product, then people almost blindsided they could buy the product because they know it will be better than the previous one. So that's one of the biggest things, I believe, why the company has steadily gotten its nice sort of image and nice stature in the hi-fi industry.
Are there any significant changes to the product itself? I mean, do the cables change these 20 years? What we know, what we want from the cables?
Well, a cable is still a cable and it needs to connect two pieces of equipment, so in that sense that didn't really change. On the other hand, we did incorporate a few new cables into our portfolio, for example Ethernet cables, which we only started making I think 2-3 years ago, because when we launched something we wanted it to be good and better than the competition, so that's why we waited a long time. But it is something that previously people believed that it didn't make any big audible difference, but in fact now they are very, very popular. So in that sense also even the sort of cable portfolio changed. For us, sort of our regular interconnects or loudspeaker cables, they still are built up by sort of similar principles, but we always try to find improvements of our current principles, or we try to find new combinations which make our products better. So for example, if you have our latest Legend series, which is an improvement of the previous classic series, you see that there is an improvement in the metallurgy of the silver and gold. So what we do is the silver gold, we inject, silver has sort of by its crystal structure, a pure silver, it has always small boundaries which sort of prevent the signal from flowing through it constantly. That's why some people have the impression that silver sounds a bit harsh, because that's what pure silver may sound like. What we do is we inject sort of gold atoms in there, in a special type of metallurgy which is developed by ourselves together with a metallurgist, and that has improved over time. But what we do, you can see it like a river flowing with some stones on the bottom of the river. That's those micro cracks. And actually by filling them with gold we remove the stones from the river, which makes the river flow like this instead of bumpy like this. So that makes the sound much more warm, more natural, more musical sounding. And we have improved that metallurgy over time, because what's important in a conductor is not only what goes through it, but especially the quality of those small micro cracks. So as we improve them and how we remove those, that makes the conductor, for example, flow much more naturally. So that's one thing, and we improved the combination of our insulation materials. We always use insulation materials of the highest quality, like Teflon or PEEK or Kapton. But the combination of how you use them, that also matters greatly to the sound. So in essence, we still use similar types of technologies, but the way in which we combine them, that is sort of developed because of our deeper understanding of how cables work. For example, through the fundamental research we do.
Talk to me about this fundamental research. What exactly you are doing? I understand that you are researching both the conductor material,
yes,
and the electric.
The electric and also
the
shield.
And the shield.
Yes.
How exactly, if you can talk about it, are you researching these things? Because they are the fundamental physics are difficult thing to research.
Yes, they are very difficult.
It's not like something electronic that you are building a prototype with an electronic device, but this is exactly as I said, the fundamental research. How are you are producing such research?
Two ways. First, we have a lot of experience already, which is discovered by like the deep knowledge of Edwin Rijnveld, the founder of Siltech. But we have also a team of young engineers. One of them even has a PhD in Amsterdam University, and he is doing this fundamental research mainly through Console, which is a simulation program, which is used like in many different industries. I think we are the only one using it for high-end cables. But it can simulate almost everything. It can simulate acoustic waves, so for example loudspeaker manufacturers do use it, some of them. But it can also simulate magnetic fields around the cable. So the degree how you twist a cable, the twist angle makes a difference. The braiding of the cable makes a difference. So all these factors combined, you can simulate it, so you can sort of our experimentation phase, that's always in the simulation program. Then out of that we find a few principles which should work in theory. And then a lot of times they work, we try them in practice, and we think, okay, of course we always listen to it, and then we think, okay, this is a principle that we can use in our new cables. And sometimes it doesn't, because in theory it can work, but then high-end audio is such a specific thing, our hearing is so specific that something that could work in theory not always sounds better. And that's these last parts of mystery, that's what we always try to solve, but even we don't know everything.
Is this simulation phase that allow you to understand that you need shielding to the speaker cables too? Because this is a little bit unusual, to shield the loudspeaker cables.
Basically we don't shield the loudspeaker cables, at least not everywhere. Sometimes they have the shielding around it, but then not connected. But having the shield around there already protects it from some interference from outside. So yeah, it is one of the consequences of things that we find.
You are making some difficult, most probably expensive research in Siltech. You are using PhD scientists and a team, but you and other cable companies too, you are not producing and publishing results. This is a little bit, let's say, strange.
Yeah.
I can understand one reason. You don't want to offer your solutions and your knowledge to the competition.
Yes, that's one thing. One other thing is that it's very difficult to compare. For example, if we would like comparing a diameter of one type of copper to another type of copper to a type of silver to another type of silver, if you only see the diameters, it's no comparison. If you publish data on, for example, just say something, capacitance, it's difficult to compare because some manufacturers, they want to sort of, they focus on this capacitance and then they let the other characteristics go. So it's very difficult to publish a real sort of balanced way of data and then be able to compare it to a competitor, because yeah,
you mean it's not making sense because the differences are very small?
The differences are small maybe in measurements, but in sound they may be huge. So that's one aspect. But another one is that it's difficult to give a complete overview of what a cable sounds like in terms of measurements. And that's this type of yeah.
This is the most interesting part of this work. Have you made some valid connections between the measurements or your research and the sound results? And can you understand how the topology of the cable or the material of the cable is connected to its sound identity?
Yes, we do find some relations there, of course. Important factor is the conductivity of the conductor, but as I said, you have conductivity of a product, but inside that there is the quality of what's not conducted, of the microcracks, the quality of that is actually what is most important to our ears, because if you, our ear is very good at detecting things that are not exactly right. And they are very good at detecting timing, but these things are very difficult to be measured in terms of something that you can write down, like this, for example, our Legend cable has this, and our Crown cable, which is better, has lower. So it's very difficult to, these very tiny details, which are the most important actually if you want to have the best sound, that's very difficult. But yes, we have found relationships, for example, that low capacitance is very important for certain types of cables. So that's what we try to reduce in those type of cables. So there are relationships, and I think we would be willing to publish them even. I
can feel that the PhD guy has a constant itch to publish something. You are not alone. You are not alone here.
He has a constant urge, at least, to find out new things, to research things, and that's the good thing. But yes, you're right. Maybe we will write a sort of white paper on this once. We do have sort of papers in which we sort of set out our basic way of how we make cables, what we find important when building a cable. So we do have these kind of things. We have technologies actually on our website where we try to explain. But real data, sort of this cable has this data and one cable has the other data which is better, that's we found it difficult to compare that one-on-one because of the sort of choices you make and the differences in the characteristics.
Okay.
But I agree that it would help people to understand better why cables matter so much in a hi-fi system.
Let's talk about the market and the consumer for the last these 10 or 20 years. How do you feel it is evolving? Do consumers pay more attention to the cabling? Do the new systems, the digital audio or the streaming are posing new problems to solve with some cables? Because now it's not only the interconnects and the loudspeaker cables. We have data cables, we have network cables,
yes.
We have digital cables,
yeah.
And power cables.
Yeah, power cables were previously often overlooked, but I think now more and more people are starting to realize that the power cable is very important. Actually, I would say if someone is considering to upgrade his system, I would even start with the power cable, because that sort of cleans the system up from the beginning, and it's a major emitter of magnetic fields, which if the power cable works well, it doesn't do, so it sort of helps your whole system if you change a power cable. But more and more people are starting to realize that. As for digital cables, I think that's something that is relatively newer, for example, a network cable. And that always takes some time for people to adapt to it. But also those cables make a really notable difference, like huge, and everyone who hears it for the first time is really surprised. What is, for example, like I said, for power cable, one of the biggest challenges is the magnetic fields that it emits. For our digital cables, one of the main challenges is the timing of it. So it's called jitter, and what is the problem there is that when you have a digital signal that needs to become analog, it's just the timing of how the ones and zeros become an analog signal. That's the main challenge, and that's also what is measurable, the jitter in a cable. So that's, for example, something that we could do with respect to measurements. Because our cables in the digital domain, they have like exceptionally low jitter, and that's why they make your music sound more natural, more 3D. Even though some people think that, for example, analog sounds more natural or with more soul than a digital product. But that's always sort of the choice that people want to make.
How difficult is to communicate all these things to an audiophile of new age, in a young audiophile? I mean, do you find it difficult to communicate all this young audiophiles?
I think that is a challenge because like 30 years ago, a lot of people, they were into audio by themselves. They wanted to have a nice amplifier and take it apart and then rebuild it. So people were interested in that generally. I think that part of hi-fi is not there, sort of not at that level anymore with the current younger generation. So the challenge is to get them interested, because essentially what we sell is not the audio product but the musical experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people nowadays, also young people, they still listen to music, they love music. Everyone loves music in some way. So I think the main goal that we should have is to let them experience how amazing sound you can achieve with high-end audio. And we have to find new channels for that, next to the traditional channels of hi-fi marketing. But it's like, for example, online or like. So it's always a challenge to see sort of how different generations see products or.
Okay. Well, I understand that you have a small a list of electronics,
Mm-hmm.
amplifiers, and loudspeakers.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Why a cable company needs to design and produce a very high-end amplifier system and an equally high-end loudspeaker system?
It's a combination of reasons. One is just because our engineers like to do so. They like to develop new things, and next to cables, of course, they also like to develop an amplifier or to develop a loudspeaker. So they are also just projects because we like to do it. They are also projects because we want to have very good reference systems which we know very well and with which we can compare cables very well or other products. So that's another reason. And one other reason is actually to show how capable we are to produce a very high-end amplifier, very high-end loudspeaker. Because that also shows our engineering capability, our creativity, our sort of innovative and design qualities. And that also reflects back on our cables. When we are at a high-end show, for example, we would play with another amplifier, another speaker, and people come in and they say, wow, this sounds fantastic. No one says it looks, it's because of the cables. And that's something we have to gradually overcome, I think, in the hi-fi industry. And that's also a reason why we started producing them. And they are selling, not in huge numbers like the cables, but we are selling them because they are very good products. But they are also sort of attracting attention on a show, but also sort of online. So it gives a better impression of what we are capable as a brand.
Mm-hmm. I understand that the amplifier system have one or two details that are Siltech's ideas. The first is that you separate the voltage.
Voltage and the current
amplifier. And the current amplifier, and the other is this optical buffered power supply.
Yes, correct.
Yes. Talk to me about that.
I must say I don't have all the technical details on this amplifier. It was developed by mainly by Edwin with the engineering team. So I can't go into too deep technical details. But as I said, what I can say is that this is sort of another sign of thinking outside the box and doing things in other ways than what is sort of in current what's currently done by other manufacturers. And we do the same in cables. There maybe the differences seem less apparent, but like we do something radically new in an amplifier, we also do like new things in a cable, or we do new things in a loudspeaker, like the Symphony loudspeaker.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the Symphony loudspeaker, what is the main idea behind it. It's not a classic loudspeaker, it's a 2-meter high loudspeaker with a lot of drivers.
There's a lot of drivers, yes, and they split in 5 octaves actually, so each driver or combination of drivers, they are only doing what they are meant to do, so what they can do best. And they are powered by 5 sort of passive active amplifiers inside, so it's not an active loudspeaker, but it has a small amplification system inside, which makes sure that every driver does exactly what it's needed to do. So we have 4 huge woofers which handle only the lowest frequencies, and that gradually builds up, so which means that you have a very high frequency response, and every driver is used at its core strength. So that's actually the most the best, how do you say it, what makes the Symphony so special?
Well, as I understand it, this is a very clever loudspeaker to design if you are a cable company. You have an active loudspeaker that needs loudspeaker cables.
It needs loudspeaker cables and a power cable. So.
This is very clever. This is very clever indeed. Let's talk about new projects and ideas that you can share with us. What do you have in your mind for the next couple of years? If it's not a trade secret.
No, what I can say is that we have a huge success now with our newest generation of the silver gold wire, and what we intend to do, like this is the 9th generation, so which is a higher generation than what's used in some of the Royal Signature series. So what we intend to do is come with also a sort of newer generation of our monocrystal silver wire, which is of an even higher purity than the silver gold. That's one of the things that will be somewhere next year, and of course we're always looking for even more crazy ideas to further improve our existing products, or to create new things which are not yet in our portfolio. So actually, as I said, our engineers are always looking for interesting things, but I can't say, like, I do say that these cables will be following anytime. After that, it can either be, maybe it's a new sort of amplifier concept, maybe it's a smaller symphony, maybe it's a streamer, I don't know, but we do have some interesting concepts in our minds to see how far we can go. And as far as it concerns younger audiophiles, maybe that's also something like in the headphone or portable. So we're always looking at what's interesting, but we keep in mind that everything that we introduce, it has to be better than our competition, because otherwise it's no sense introducing it.
It will be interesting to have a Siltech headphone cable, because these are very sensitive to mechanical effects.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes, they are. They are a very special type of cable because of the very small current that goes through it, that makes the conductor extra important. But also the mechanical effects of it are a challenge. We do have them with our other brand, with Crystal, because they're more flexible by nature. Mm-hmm. For Siltech, that would be more of a challenge, but who knows what we come up with in the future.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.